quarterbacks are playing how long on Saturday?
Yeah, I can tell you that. No, Jordan's going to take the majority of the game, and then Kurt will go in there.
Do you have any long-term concerns about any of the guys that missed practice yesterday due to injury?
No, not long-term, but they could be out for, a week or so.
Matt, we've seen Slayton take some reps with the ones with Kenny Clark missing a couple of practices. Just in general, what does that do for a young guy to get reps with the first unit and against the first unit before he even gets to his first preseason?
Well, it's certainly great work for him. I think just we get to see how he responds on, with everybody watching him, and he's done a lot of great things, but just like most young players, he's got to be more consistent and make sure that he's giving forth the necessary effort on every play. But he's a guy that's really talented, and I think he's come a long way in a short period of time. But it's going to be exciting to get him to go see him in live action.
Will you play Aaron all this preseason, or is there just really no need?
I would say most likely not.
What are you seeing from Kavion Neto and just the competition that he's creating there in the secondary this camp?
Yeah, no, he's done a really nice job. I think this is probably the healthiest he's been since he's been here, and so just to get an opportunity to go watch him in some preseason games now is what we're really excited about. But I think he's got tremendous ball skills. I mean, he's a former wide receiver, so he's got a knack for finding a way to get the ball out, and just like I said, just excited to see him in game action.
Are you walking a fine line at all with Joe as far as putting together your defense for the preseason games? I know you don't want to show much, if anything, but it is a new scheme that you're trying to implement. Is there a bit of a fine line you're walking there?
Yeah, I think that's always the case with really in all three phases is you still want to get great quality work, stuff that you're going to be calling. And basically, I mean, most teams, you got to have a foundation, right? And so you're gonna be calling a lot of the stuff that you are going to call in the season. It's just, I would say, some of the, whether you want to call them exotics or whatnot, and just some of the nuances and wrinkles that you have within your scheme. I'd say typically most teams kind of stay away from that.
Matt, what's your view of preseason games in general, not having had them last year?
Yeah, I think it's like anything. You don't really appreciate it until it's gone, and you're trying to evaluate these young players. And, luckily for us, we've got a lot of veterans that we already know what they can do. And so that's why you feel, I think, a little bit more comfortable not having to play some of those guys in the preseason games, not expose them to injury. Yet at the same time, you got to get those guys ready to play for week one. So I think there's always a balance there that you're trying to strike in terms of making sure that they're competing to be their best, but at the same time not putting them at risk.
Some big moments coming up for the wide receiving group with the preseason games coming. How closely are you going to be paying attention to guys like EQ or Funchess, guys who maybe haven't played a lot of special teams before, but it seems like that is probably their ticket to the 53 this year?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big part of it. And I think anytime, especially once you get so deep within the receiver room, you got to factor in the special teams component, and that's going to be we're going to need some big contributions from that room on special teams. Losing a guy like Rambo that really hurt our special teams. So you got to supplement it from somewhere else, and some of these guys are going to have to take on maybe a larger role than they normally would have.
Yeah, I think 8 tight ends, and I think they're all different types of tight ends. Just talk about, the variety of skill sets you have just at that position.
Yeah, so the way we kind of break it down is you got your traditional wide tight end, more of your your blocking in your 12 and 21 personnel. Then you have your F tight end, which can be more, some people might consider it more of like an H-back type role. And then you have your dual threat tight end, somebody that might be your F in 12 and 21, but then an 11 personnel can go play Y. So we kind of look at it in 3 different ways.
What did you see from Josiah yesterday? Finally getting some work on team. He looked like he never left.
Yeah, no, it was great to see him back out there. We try to keep it very limited. I think he had 2 plays per period, and it was a pretty short practice yesterday. So we'll gradually increase his volume as we go, and but he is such a smart football player. It was amazing last year, coming in and being able to pick up everything and contribute basically day one. And so he's a guy that we're really excited about to have back, just the versatility he brings. He's a guy that can do a lot of the F stuff, the moving H-back type role, and then, you can play him in 11 personnel at the Y and do some really cool things with him in the passing game as well.
Just how good are his ball skills?
Oh, he's got tremendous ball skills, and he's just, the thing that he does, he's so instinctive. There's little things he does as well, just as a football player in general, both in the run game and in the pass game, that it's hard to coach. He just has such a great feel for the game, and he gives great effort all the time, and he's a guy that we're really happy to have.
Matt, you haven't seemed too optimistic about Rambo. What exactly is the injury, and is he out for the season?
Well, I'm not going to quite get into that yet. There's still a long ways to go in terms of to totally discount him for the entire season. I think would be unfair.
Matt, what do you think, just with Garvin getting a few more of those reps now, especially some of the first team stuff, what do you think that's done for him in terms of being able to get a little bit more exposure this camp?
Yeah, no, Garvin's another young player that we're really excited about. I think his skill set's a little bit different than Rambo's. He's a big, heavy-handed guy, and can really rush with some really good power. So he'll get a lot of time in the preseason to show what he can do.
It's good in here. I'll go to Zoom. Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, we just have 2. Bill Hoover.
Good morning, Matt. You talked a lot about injured players today. Any updates on Z and the rest of those NFI guys on when they might get back?
I'm hoping sooner than later, Bill. But yeah, I've got nothing to update on those guys. Whenever Flea will let them go.
Darius Joshua.
Hey, Matt, just after not having a preseason, now having preseason games last year, so filling out the roster, would you say it's just simply a fair evaluation for those kind of guys to actually see them in a game against another opponent?
Yeah, I think it's going to really help us in our ability to evaluate those guys, especially generally when you go into camp, you have a pretty good indication of who maybe your top 45 guys are or whatever, but just when you start getting towards the final few, to be able to go out and see them in live action is gonna make that process a much easier for all of us.